Hello, hello, hello. I am going to be streaming for about an hour. An hour or two. I'm just going to share the link to my Instagram real quick so that people can tune in. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I had some comments or one comment from somebody recently that were saying how they could get notifications for my live streams, and like you can just turn on the little notification bell like next to my channel name or where it says subscribe. I'm pretty sure there's an option for alerts, but I also feel like I need to share it more often whenever I live stream, so I just posted it to my Instagram story so that whoever wants to tune in can tune in. But yes, I'm going to be making a track from scratch in FL Studio 24. And I'm going to try to stick to stock plugins. I really like the sound of GMS. It sounds very analog sometimes. Put that in mono. I've been using these stock packs here. They're pretty nice. Okay, there you go. Hey, what up, Brains? Okay. It's gonna be the baseline. Put the kick in here. Put some sidechain on that. I'm gonna stick to stock plugins only so that I can put the FLP project on Patreon. So I'm gonna clone the kick, go back to pattern 1, copy and paste it. Call this sidechain. Color this red. And then I'm going to put that in here. I'm gonna unlink it from the master. I'm gonna go over here and create a drum bus, and then create a melody bus and a bass bus. I'm gonna take those three and dock them to the left, and I'll just put all my elements in here, and I will do the sidechain to these elements so that I don't have to do them individually to everything else. The default 808 kick. Yeah, it's nice too. This one. I've been using these other samples that I downloaded from the browser section. They're also free. They come right here in this sample section. There's these packs. They're really great, especially this Super Drums 8000. So good. It's so good. But yeah, this kick is from the Asher Postman sample. It's this one. No, this one. It's kind of soft. I kind of like that. So let's add a limiter here. Do some sidechain. And then I'm going to add a reverb to the bass. I might do a delay. But we'll see, because this is gonna sound nice when I open it up. delay. Ooh, that sounds crazy. I'm gonna link these. I'll link them here to the base. Let me sidechain that a little bit. I mean, quantize it. No worries, Reigns. You're good. I forgot I was gonna do only stock plugins. I always forget. I was doing Supermassive. I mean, they're free except for the reverb, but I'm gonna switch it out. Just replace it. For a delay 3. I don't know what's wrong with my microphone wire. Oh, that sounds so good. I'm gonna do a reverb. I'm gonna replace Valhalla Vintage with stock, probably a Convolver maybe. And I'm gonna go for a warehouse. Turn down the dry signal, run that clap through there. Yes. Now let's put that in here. Add a GMS. And let's look for a lead or maybe a pad sound actually. That would be cool. I kind of like that. Oh, it's playing it in mono, so it's not even playing all of them. Ooh. Okay. Oh, I like that. Oh, that sounds so nice. I like it better in that tone. Let me open up that decay. Put those chords through here. Do some sidechain on that mellow bus. Open that up some more. Maybe take away the reverb. Okay. What is not grouped in there? This. And this goes in here. Do some EQ a little bit. I don't like that it introduces noise. I don't know if it's some kind of like artifact that GMS introduces, or if it's something that I'm doing on my end that I'm not maybe switching. But every time I put the LFO on this specific shape, it creates noise, and I don't know why, and I don't know how to fix it. I don't know if it's just an artifact from the LFO in GMS, or if it's something different. Because if I solo it, you can hear that like distortion, or that noise on the higher end. You can see it here in the EQ. If I make it higher, you can hear that distortion. But if I switch the wave shape to a sine wave, it goes away. And it's probably because there's no attack time to this shape, so maybe it's creating like a clicking sound type of distortion. But this one does it too, so I don't think it's that. And there is this noise oscillator, but if I lower it, it still has it. So it's not that. So I'm not sure what it could be, unless I put re-trigger maybe. Okay, that took it away. But it kind of sounds a little delayed, like there's some latency to it. Let me play it with everything. Yeah, there's a little bit of latency introduced. I don't mind the noise that much, honestly. I'd rather not have that latency. But yeah, it's pretty. That's kind of one of the drawbacks. There's a couple of drawbacks to GMS. Honestly, I like using it, but it can be kind of glitchy sometimes. Like for example, if I try to automate, if like say I go into the delay here and I try to automate parameter Y or parameter X, and I create an automation clip for it, if I switch to any other effect here, those, since it's the same knobs, that automation is going to affect anything else in the same way. So these aren't separate, like you can't separate these automations because it will apply to every single one of these, which is really frustrating sometimes, but it's okay. I'm gonna go into pattern 1. Create a little bit of differences here. Let's load up another GMS. Maybe do another chord, or maybe an arpeggiation of some kind. Let's go into the arpeggiation section. Hey, thank you, Michael. Call this ARP and put that in here and then link that into the melody so that it can have some automation, some sidechain. Okay, let me go into a new pattern, put that in here, and I'm just gonna build one big chord. There you go. I'm gonna take this reverb off actually. Okay. Turn that volume down. I might add another delay, but I'm gonna switch it out for one of my own that I've made in Patcher, which is using still all stock plugins, but let me link that in there. Yes. What the fuck? Ooh, hold up, bro. What did I just make? That sounds insane. Okay, some automation, maybe using some LFO, or maybe using some randomized type of movement, using maybe a Fruity P controller would also be nice. I think I'm gonna try that. But it's gonna be a little difficult because, like I'm saying, if I'm modulating these parameters, it's gonna modulate them. Well, let me try it. Maybe they fixed it in an update at some point, but I don't think they did. But we'll try and figure this out. So I'm gonna load in 2 peak controllers. I'm just gonna clone this or duplicate. Is there a duplicate? I think if I just drag and drop. Yeah. And I'm gonna call this X and X control, and it's gonna be Y control. For now, I'm going to move these, so I will map the time linked to controller to X LFO accept, and then I will map the parameter Y linked to control into the Y LFO. That way they have different randomized patterns. So I just go in here where it says random, and then I can change the phase to change the phase of the randomization. And I can do the same thing for Y. Go into here, do a random shape. I can start it off at the 0 and then put the volume all the way up. Same thing for this one. Change the phase so that they have different randomization patterns. And then I can change the speed if I play it. Let me just solo this. You can see it moving, but I'm gonna change the speeds on them. Yes. Now what I can do also is input another one. So I can maybe rename this X flange and then do Y flange. And then I'm gonna input another control. And I'll call this X crash. And then this can be Y. And but see, this is what I mean. It is doing it. So like, for example, I modulated these parameters, but if I go over to this, it's also changing these. And no matter which one I go to, it's going to be changing them. which is really frustrating. And I'm not sure why FL Studio would have it be this way, because it's kind of dumb, you know, since like everything's linked to those same knobs. So the only way would be like to manually move it here, position it where I want, and then go here. See, now it's not moving, but if I play it, so that's a problem. But they might be... No, because these are already linked. Yeah, no, I can't. Yeah, it's pretty dumb that it's set up that way. The only other option might be if I don't really know if there's another option, honestly. It's okay. I'll just have to decide which one I want to modulate. Honestly, I think modulating the flanger sounds a lot better than modulating the crush, the bit crush. And then maybe even changing the hypnotic frequency or filtration delay thing that I made. Because it has like a resonance peak, which is what's like creating that tone. And it's enough feedback, it has a lot of feedback going on. This is the mapping for it. It's basically mostly delay 3 and destructor, which is giving it some distortion and the filtering effect. And I just mapped everything to one knob. But it sounds really nice. Fuck yeah. This one, I made this one a long time ago. Hypnotic. So it's not new. I've had it. If you're subscribed to my Patreon, you have access to all the plugins that I've made in Patcher, like all of these. I'm gonna provide this FLP project on Patreon as well. And then I also have these separate, like for sale separately on Gumroad. I think I have it for like $5. But yeah, I've been wanting to make more plugins in Patcher. It's really fun, and I really enjoy making plugins in there. Another one that I really like is this one, S-Feed. Is also a delay-based plugin that I made, but it has some really cool effects as well. I can probably show it to you guys. I'll just turn off hypnotic and I'll put this one. Let me just turn down the dry signal so that it's just the wet signal coming through. And I'm going to solo it. I'm going to run it a little bit more. Actually, was this a... Oh, it's not turned on. I was like, why can't I hear it? yeah, this one's fun to play with. And then I have this other one, Mod X, which introduces a lot of textures. I like using this one more for the drums, but it's nice on different sounds as well. I'll just turn down the dry. So you can hear that texture. They all make different sounds based off whatever you run them through. The only thing about this one is it's pretty CPU heavy, and I'm trying to figure out a better way to set up the mapping so that it's not so crazy for the CPU. But it's probably because I have so many instances of delays and mostly delays. So there's a lot of like time manipulation going on. There's a frequency shifter in there too. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes of this plugin. But basically, you can mix a couple of these different mods and get some really interesting sounds. For textures, you know. Yeah. So if you go on my Gumroad, I usually have a link. I think I have the link in the description. They're right here, Patcher plugins. It's all these right here. But if you're subscribed on Patreon, then you get them basically for free, pretty much. But yeah, I've been meaning to make some more. I'll probably do that soon. Another one that I have is this Dimension 333, which is also a delay plugin. I just love delay, so I make plugins in Patcher that are like delays that I want to hear. So for example, in this one, I wanted to be able to manipulate the left and the right sides separately, and then be able to add effects to those sides independently as well. So then here I have the left delay, here's the right delay. I can change the timing and the feedback amount for each side, and I can reverse either one side or both sides of the delay. And then I can add a little bit of frequency shifting to them as well. And then I can add chorus, saturation, and a filter to the delay sound. Or I can turn the whole thing into a pad, which is also nice for textures or atmosphere type of stuff. So if I play it, I'm gonna have to turn down the dry signal since this is a bus. Like if I turn this on, it just completely blurs everything. And if I disconnect this from the main, I just have ambience. And I can change, I don't know why it still says S feed, but I think I can change the filtering. I can add resonance peaks. I can do chorus. I can mix in both. Actually, no, I don't think I can. I think it's only either fully or none. I can change the color of the chorus, which is basically the resonance of the chorus, like where on the frequency spectrum you want it to kind of color the sound, and then the speed. And how much chorus you want to mix in there. And then this is the feedback amount, the timing. It's all snapped, so it snaps to different time modes, like dotted or just regular delay timing. But yeah, really fun to play with these plugins in Patcher. I really like this one because it's simple, but it's nice. I called it hypnotic because it's constantly like in this type of feedback. Can I try GMS drop down browse parameters? Yeah. Browse parameters. This one. This is basically just gonna show all the knobs. So if I click on this one, it's right there. Filter cutoff is this one. It's just telling me what knobs are there, but there's all these. I don't know what these are. These are just empty, maybe. I can assign them to something, but that's what these are. Maybe you can assign FX2 to peak controller. FX2. FX2. But what is that manipulating really? Because I think that might be the mix. Maybe that might be like a mix knob. Like for example, this glue. It might be this. But then there's this activate thing. I wish, man, FL Studio kind of sucks, man, when it comes to like modulation. Like that's the only thing I wish they would change, is that they would add more modulation plugins, you know, like more LFOs, more variety in modulation. Because although you can do a lot of stuff in Patcher, and you can do some stuff with the peak control or the keyboard control, it just sucks that there's really no like true modulation stuff. I think if you click a button, it will show you what it is. That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to click these, but it's not going to it. Maybe if I move it. Okay, I have to move it. Well, not this one, I guess. It's not showing me these. It's showing me everything else. Let me try moving it now. Yeah, it's not showing me the ones that are modulating with the peak control. But it's showing me everything else. Kind of strange. Because look, now it's on FX3. If I go here, now it's on FX2. But I think all that means is that it just turns it on and off. I feel like that's really all it is. Either way, it sounds nice. Like this. This clap would be nice too with some delay. So let me add a delay. I'll take away this and replace it with a stock delay. I'm going to link this clap. I'm gonna put a fruity control here. Or maybe I should do an envelope. How can I do this? What controls do I have here again? Formula controller, P controller, control surface. I need like an envelope controller, but I think I can only put it in through here. Controller, fruity envelope controller, fruity keyboard controller. Can I map this to an envelope is the question. Yes, I can. I'll map it to articulator 1, except in articulator 1, I'll put it, I'll do an envelope. I wonder what this means. Is it negative? It does go into negative. So then would it be 0 if I just leave it like that? Yeah. Now what if I do this? It's not doing much. I feel like there's something I'm not doing. Unipolar, base, envelope 100. It's turned on. Let's see if I go here. It's still not doing what I want it to do. Maybe it's an LFO that I want. Why aren't you doing anything? I know there's something I'm not doing right. There's something. Is it this continuous output? No. We're gonna figure this out. Let me ask ChatGPT real quick. Okay. This is what I'm gonna tell ChatGPT. I am in FL Studio and I'm trying to modulate the mix knob for a delay to the keyboard, fruity, to the envelope controller, but it's not doing anything. How can I fix this? Let's see what it tells me. To link the mix knob of a delay to the envelope controller in FL Studio, follow these steps. Load envelope controller, add the envelope controller to your project, activate the envelope, right-click the mix knob, choose link to controller, select envelope controller as the input. In the internal controller drop-down menu, select the envelope controller, choose a specific envelope you want to use to modulate the mix knob. Adjust the range. If needed, adjust the mapping formula to make sure the modulation behaves as expected. Well, it's not doing it. It's not doing it, bro. It's activated. The base is at 0. The envelope is at 100. Which means this should change it slowly. in here. This is linked to the articulator 1. It's on articulator 1, except if I play it, it is not doing it. So maybe if I go in here and put help, maybe this will help me a little bit. Let's see. Fruity Envelope Controller generates automation data to the keyboard MIDI input. Read more about the internal automation track. It appears articulator art, blah, blah, blah. How do I expand this more? Because it's not showing me the full thing. Data to keyboard. Read more about internal automation rack. It appears articulator options. Link to controller. Okay, let me expand this, bro. How do I expand this? This is stupid that FL Studio does this, but yeah, it doesn't show me the side. Like I can't scroll to the side to see the rest. Come on, FL. Let me just open this up in the actual browser here. Where is the index? FL envelope controller. That is not. Actually, that might help. Let's see here. Who? Okay, articulator 2 key map is linked to S to the speed. Speed is modulator articulator 1's LFO. Damn, this is a super look. This is from 11 years ago, bro. Crazy. I'm telling you, man, FL Studios got to step up their game. Everything's so outdated and old. They got to really just completely, I feel like they need to, maybe they can keep the original version, but release a new version for those that want to upgrade to a more futuristic version of it, you know, where it's more updated like all the other DAWs. Because I feel like FL Studio's super old. Like I feel like it's running on old programming, unfortunately. Articulator 1 LFO. Notes to key mapping, but this is key map. Now is that the problem? Does it have to be mapped to the keys because it's over here and not in the effects section? So can I only control instruments with this and not effects? Because that could be it, honestly. But then why would it give me the option to map the effects to it as well? That doesn't make sense. Let's keep watching this. This is also not really explaining shit. Yeah, this is not doing anything for me, bro. See, because this is modulating instruments. And it's doing so through layer, which means it has the envelope and the instrument stacked in a layer. You see here you have harmless, and then you have envelope control, and then there's layer. And it's being played through layer, so then envelope control is being activated through the layer. So I think that's probably the problem. I think I can't use it separately outside of that layer mode, which is dumb, dude. Like, this is a really powerful tool, you know, but it's just like, I wish they would make one for the effects. I feel like I gotta keep talking to ChatGPT here. It still isn't doing anything. Let's see what it tells me. If the mix knob isn't responding to the envelope controller, try these additional steps to troubleshoot. Ensure envelope controller is triggered. Make sure that the envelope controller is actually being triggered by a sound or MIDI event. Without a trigger, the envelope won't output any control signal. You can trigger the envelope by routing MIDI notes to the envelope controller or linking it to an automation clip. Alternatively, make sure trigger is set to always in the envelope controller so it keeps working without a trigger. Alternatively, make sure trigger is set to always so it keeps working without a trigger. Right-click the mix knob again, go to link to controller and ensure the range of the modulation is set correctly. You can manually test by setting a basic mapping formula like input to check if any movement is happening. In the envelope controller, reset all settings to default, then configure the envelope with basic values to see if the modulation takes effect. Ensure the amount knob inside the envelope controller is not set to 0. There is no amount. There's a base, but there is no amount. But it is set to 0. What if I do that? Well, now I see it moving down here. But that's just the base. It's supposed to move here. Continuous output. But it's not doing it. Let me see your comments. Hey, what's up, Jordino? Thank you. Use a low filter instead. What's up, DJ? Well, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to figure this out because it's a really good tool for modulation, the envelope controller, because you have basically 8 envelopes that you can do a bunch of stuff with, envelope and LFOs, which will be really nice for automations and for sound design stuff. And I know that I've figured this out in the past, but I don't entirely remember how I did it. And so I'm trying to figure that out. So the bass knob is moving the amount here, which means where it's going to start. The envelope is how much of the envelope is going to affect. It's supposed to be anyway. How much is supposed to affect the actual sound, but it's not moving. And I think the reason is because it needs to be triggered with a MIDI. That's what it's telling me. But it also says I can put continuous output so that I don't have to trigger it with a MIDI. But you see, now that I don't have continuous output on and I move the bass, it's not changing the mix amount anymore. But if I put this on continuous output, now it is. So I don't understand what the fuck is going on. I'm gonna make it unipolar. Play. Yeah, I don't understand why that's doing that. But I feel like one way, I guess I could trigger it. So if I go in here and I just put a random, like, let's just do C5. Where are you? There. And I just put that continuously here where the clap is playing. Now it's being activated. But that's dumb. Yeah, it's weird the way that FL Studio functions, man. But we got it. I need to turn this LFO off because that's what's changing it all weird. I need to make it a long note because it's gonna just... Crazy, right? Crazy. See, it shouldn't do that. Like, now that I don't have it off, now that I don't have continuous output on, it's still working the same. The point of this continuous output is so that it doesn't need that trigger. Whenever I turn off continuous, whenever I turn on, I can move the bass, but the end still affecting the knob. If turning on continuous output allows you to move the bass level, but the envelope itself isn't affecting the knob, here's a few things to try. Ensure the envelope is active. Inside the envelope controller, make sure the envelope section is active. Sometimes the envelope might not be triggered if the decay, attack, and sustain settings are off. Adjust the attack, decay, sustain, and release settings to create a noticeable envelope shape. Check the modulation link. Recheck your link by clicking the mix knob and selecting link to controller. When you link it, ensure the correct envelope from the envelope controller is selected. Set mapping formula to input, which is a direct linear mapping. Adjust envelope's output. After turning on continuous output, make sure the amount slider inside the envelope controller isn't set too low. If the amount is too small, the modulation won't have a noticeable effect. That's not the issue. Check global controller link settings. FL Studio has a global setting that might interfere with linking. Go to Tools, Last Tweaked, Override Generic Links, and ensure no previous mapping conflicts exist. Alternatively, clear automation links by going to Tools, Macros, Unlink all controllers, and then relink the envelope control to the knob. Test with another knob. Try linking the envelope to a different parameter like the volume or other effects knob to see if the issue persists. This helps rule out whether it's specific delay plugin or the envelope controller itself is causing the issue. Okay, ChatGPT coming in clutch with the information. All right, let's try that. I'm going to remove this and I'm going to go into continuous output. I'm going to unlink this from here. I am going to just do the volume. I'm going to link to control, articulator 1. It's already on input. And I'm just going to accept. Should I click remove conflicts? All right. Let's see if the bass is changing the volume. It is. Now let's see if it changes it here. It is still not doing shit. It needs to be triggered. I need to read this in the manual. Help. Where's the index? Help index. No. Give me the fucking large index, bro. I fucking hate this little thing. Where do I go to the actual index? I don't like this window. I don't even have the option to expand it. Okay, there you go. Let's see here. Fruity envelope controller. Why doesn't the index come out anymore? Where is it? Help, support, learning, forum, download, learning. Where is the index? Or search online manual. Yes, go to the user manual. Thank you. Fruity. It's not even coming up. There it is. Fruity envelope controller. Fruity envelope controller generates automation data. Yes. Piano roll or live keyboard MIDI input. Read more about internal automation controllers here. Note when the envelope controller is loaded in the channel rack, it appears as 8 articulator options in the link to controller assignment menu. Automation varies the target parameter in FL Studio. Yes, okay. There are 8 articulators per plugin. Each articulator combines the output from any or all the following modulation sources. Okay. Keys trigger a random values under envelope control. So it has a randomization thing as well, which is cool. Is this going to explain it better?
Welcome. In this tutorial, we'll explore Fruity Envelope Controller. With Fruity Envelope Controller, you can use note input to trigger envelopes that automate plugin parameters. Hold on. That sounds familiar. Isn't that exactly what Keyboard Controller does? Technically, yes, but with far more flexibility. To demonstrate, I've linked the Envelope Controller to the Master Filter in Flex. You'll notice as I play notes in Envelope Controller, the cutoff and resonance values change simultaneously. Neat. So, how does this type of automation work? To make this happen, we'll need to link the parameter to Envelope Controller. Right-click the control and select Link to Controller. Envelope Controller will be in the list here. That's interesting. It shows up 8 times. This is because Envelope Controller has 8 independent controller envelopes called articulators. In this example, to control the cutoff, we'll use articulator 1. And for the resonance, let's use articulator 2. Now when I play a note, the target parameters do a little dance. Click on the articulator that's linked to the control to edit the automation. We'll use a default envelope to show the settings. Like Keyboard Controller, every articulator in Envelope Controller has a key range that decides which notes are passed to the selected articulator. Set it by clicking and dragging the left or right edge of the note name area. By default, it's set to all notes. To set it to one note, right-click in the note name area. Note, only the first articulator envelope is enabled by default. For articulators 2 to 8, you will need to activate the switch here also. This can be a good way to try envelope variations if they are linked to the same control. Cut and paste between them with this menu here and tweak, then activate each in turn. Besides the main envelope, each articulator also has an LFO and keyboard velocity, mod X and Y and random mappings. By default, the articulators are set to bipolar mode, meaning the base level represents a midpoint horizontal line and modulation can be positive, above, or negative, below the line. When set to unipolar, the base level is at the bottom of the graph, and the top is the maximum output level. Okay, let's get deeper into the all-important main envelope. You can scale its level with the envelope knob, and as we noted, switch it on and off with the button in the lower left corner. If your modulation is not working, check this switch first. The envelope represents control values over time, left to right. So time is on the horizontal axis and control output level on the vertical axis. You can change the grid to be tempo based with the tempo button down here. This means the grid represents beats, so you can time events perfectly to your music. The attack, decay, sustain and release knobs scale the time and level values of marked breakpoints in the envelope. If you have no breakpoints marked, you can use the decay knob to scale the whole envelope in time. To add points, right-click anywhere in the graph. To delete them, right-click them and select Delete. Or if you need to delete multiple points quickly, click Step Edit the graph. As an example,
you can sidechain using the envelope controller to create your own custom sidechain dip or envelope, kind of like the way that it is here in Shaperbox. When you click your sidechain and it's like constantly ducking, and these are the shapes that it has for sidechain, and then these are like the beats 1, 2, 3, 4, which is the length here. You can essentially do the same thing using a Fruity envelope controller. You can just switch it to tempo so that it has the beats, and then you can create an envelope that will do sidechain. So instead of me doing this, cloning the kick and then doing this, I can essentially put a Fruity envelope controller and then just map this to the kick through a layer, and it'll create sidechain. I should honestly probably try that out, but I don't know. But you're essentially creating that trigger, and then that trigger you can link to either the volume, or you can put an EQ and link that to maybe like something like this. If I do this, and it'll sidechain just the low end like this, or I can do like a mid multiband compressor, and then I can do the same thing to maybe the threshold on the low end. I can choose where I want it to be here in the crossover section, like how much of the low end, like where I want that to be, and then it's just gonna like compress the low end basically, so I could still sidechain but only the low end, which would be really nice, instead of doing it this way where it sidechains everything. So that's a possibility of something I can try right now. But yeah, that's something you can do here.
Well, let's use all this control to make a fully customizable and accurate sidechain level ducking preset.
Let's see this though.
Nice. To set a point as decay, sustain, or release, right-click it and select the type you want from the menu.
Yes,
the attack segment will always be the time between the first breakpoint and the decay breakpoint.
Let me go speed.
You'll notice the sustain option says loop end. If you're inclined, you can select any point to be the loop start point. Now, that section of the envelope will loop as soon as the sustain point is reached until the key or note is released. For example, use this to trigger a filter chopping effect. The LFO section works a little like the envelope section. Let's switch it on. Notice, in addition to your traditional LFO parameters down here, it also has an envelope, but only the sustain point is marked. The envelope will scale the output of the LFO over time, and hold the scaling at the sustain point until the note is released. You can add this to or subtract this from your envelope using the LFO knob. In the keyboard mapping graph, X represents the incoming note, and Y is the output value. To put it simply, it's another way of keyboard tracking a parameter. The mapping graphs are added to the output of the envelope to scale it. Velocity mapping is also pretty straightforward. The x-axis is for the incoming velocity, and the y-axis is the output. The XY pad on the front UI sets the input values for the modulation X. The random mapping lets you add randomness to the output. The vertical axis represents the range of possible random values 0 to 1 when a note is pressed, and the horizontal axis position will be randomly chosen. This way, if I wanted it to offset my envelope by 0.25 in exactly 25% of cases, I would do this. So that's awesome. Envelope controller. We know this is a lot to take in at once.
Bro, you didn't even mention the continuous output section of it. You didn't even say anything about it. That's the whole point of why I watched that video. Continuous output, continuous output. There's modes, there's the bass, there's the keyboard range, the envelope editor, curve editing, section markers, envelope menu. So there's no option to not use a trigger, is what I'm getting at here. I just want to know what continuous output means, though. There it is. The idea of a smart knob is to remap the input to output relationship between hardware controller and the plugins and modulation target. Okay. Load for the envelope controller, select an articulator, select modulation X or Y mapping and create a custom envelope. Select continuous output from the XY menu if you want to control the target full time, otherwise XY modulation values be sent each time a note is played. Otherwise, XY modulation values be sent each time. That doesn't make sense the way they worded it. Select continuous output from the XY menu if you want to control the target full time. Otherwise, XY modulation values be sent each time a note is played. They forgot to put will. Values will be sent each time a note is played. Link a hardware controller. Finally move the hardware controller knob and record it or record XY modulation. Okay, I got it. So I cannot use it without a trigger, essentially. That continuous output essentially is like a sync. Like, for example, in Vital, Vital has a option here on the randomization or on the LFO section, or even, I think even here. No, they don't have it there, but they have it here where it's either a trigger or sync. And sync would essentially be continuous output, which basically means it's not going to be re-triggered. It's just going to keep going. So for example, if I do it on the envelope and I play a note, let me put it through a filter so it's not so loud. And I put an LFO on the volume. If I put it on trigger, it's going to always start here whenever I click a note. Like I let it go, press it again, it always starts in the beginning. That is re-triggering, or that is trigger. But if I put sync, it's basically a continuous output. So it's going to start wherever it is in time. But if I put re-trigger, it's always going to start in the beginning. So that's essentially what that means. I don't know why they worded it in a way where it says that like it's not gonna trigger. They should have worded it differently, but that's essentially what that's doing. So in order to use the envelope controller, I have to trigger it using it MIDI. So the best way to do that is whatever you want to control. Either if you want to control something continuously, you're just gonna have to put a really long MIDI, depending the way that you want to control something, or you can link it to a sound already. So if I want, I can link it to the clap, but that's not really what I want to do because I don't want to use that MIDI. I feel like that was probably really confusing, but it's okay. I understand. I got it. I should probably make like one small specific video explaining everything that I kind of like figuring out here for the envelope controller. But it is a dope control to use for modulation and sound design. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to create a sidechain instead of using that kick, I'm gonna use a Fruity envelope controller. And if it doesn't work, then it's okay. So we go to pattern 1, there's the kick. I'm gonna insert a Fruity envelope controller. And then I'm going to add a layer, and I'm going to select both of the, I'm gonna leave this here, select these, go in here. How the fuck do I do it if they keep going away? Set children. Jesus. I'm gonna cut this, put that in here. And I don't know if I'm doing it correctly the way that I'm seeing it in my brain. Let me do this unipolar. Base is going to be down at the bottom. Envelope all the way up. Create a ducking sound. Put this in tempo. I don't think I need So now if I go in here, maybe I'll do maybe even with frequency splitter. Link to controller, articulator 1, accept. Put that on 50%. It's actually not bad, like, doing it that way. I'll just have to take this out of here so I don't have to go in here every time to put frequency splitter. Maybe create a preset for it too. Pretty interesting. It's a lot more versatile than doing it any other way. I've always wondered what these other ones do. Like LSD, like what is... I know it has these sounds. I think this is meant for like different stuff. I think these have sounds in them. Like actual sounds. But I've never tried to do anything with that. Then there's the peak controller. The XY and XYZ controller are basically the same thing. Fruity formula controller is pretty complicated because you gotta use formulas. There's the basic ones here that you can use, like randomization and stuff. But if you want to get like really complex, then you have to input some formulas in there. That's usually more for like patcher and stuff in order to split signals a certain way. And then there's XY controller, XYZ controller. Control surface is basically patcher, but just the knob aspect. I can add either a fader or a knob or something, and then map that to basically creating my own macros, so I can create several knobs and map different parameters to them and just modulate these knobs. So that can be really cool too. But I'm just gonna use the peak controller. The peak, I'm not really sure what this peak section does entirely. I know it can be used to do sidechain. I guess it uses the input signal of whatever sound that you're using, and you can use that input signal to then modulate other things. So it's kind of like an envelope controller almost, but it's an envelope that is shaped to the sound that is coming in, and you can choose like the level of it. So yeah. So in here I'll map the clap to the LFO. Put that over here. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to create a really slow sine wave. Maybe not that slow. Oh, I think I mapped it accidentally to the peak, not the LFO. There you go. think that was enough. I was supposed to only stream for an hour, but ended up streaming for a lot longer. But it's okay. I feel like this stream had a lot of good information, especially around the Fruity Peak control and the controller, the envelope controller. There's a lot of cool stuff that you can do in FL Studio, even though it's frustrating sometimes because it's so outdated as far as the programming and the technology of it. And there's just not a lot of options when it comes to modulation, or when there is a lot of options, but they require a lot of unnecessary work that can be simplified essentially at some point, hopefully. But I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Thank you guys for tuning in. This project, this FLP project, along with the samples and presets and my plugin that I used here, the hypnotic plugin, will all be included into, it's going to be the whole FLP project with all that stuff. It will be up on Patreon. I will put the link in the description and in the comment section. As soon as I end this live stream, I will upload this to Patreon. If you are subscribed to the Techno King tier on Patreon, then you will be able to get this. If you still want this project, but you don't want to subscribe to the Patreon, I will have it for sale on Patreon separately so that you don't have to subscribe for like $5 probably. So yeah, you can become a patron, or you can just buy it separately if you want. Or, I mean, I did this all on stream, so if you really want, you can just follow along and do what I did. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna be doing more videos like this, honestly. Just really trying to stick to doing things just with the FL Studio stock plugins and effects and samples. Because it inspires more creativity. You know, when you limit yourself and when you try to just do things with what you have, it produces some really nice results. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. This is going to be available on Patreon to subscribers for free, and to non-subscribers you can buy for $5 if you like, or you can subscribe and get a bunch of stuff. So thank you guys. Thank you for all the ones that are already subscribed on Patreon. I appreciate you all very much. I'm going to be putting more effort into YouTube, into creating videos. I want to create shorter tutorial style videos, especially around little things like the Fruity Peak controller and the Fruity envelope controller, and just things like that that I use when it comes to sound design and arrangement and stuff like that, just to keep the track interesting. But yes, thank you for watching. Hey, what's up, Maji? I'm about to end the stream, but it'll be up for you guys to watch if you missed it. But yes, time for me to go to sleep. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, your night, morning, afternoon, whatever time it is for you. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves. Love yourself and others. And go make some music.